In characterizing the present international situation, I think that there is no need to take into account all the facts of some degree of importance, absolutely all the specific features of the present state of international affairs. For this purpose, it is sufficient to take into account only the principal decisive factors in the present situation. At the present time, there are, in my opinion, three such factors. A. The opening of an era of bourgeois democratic pacifism. B. The intervention of America in European affairs and the Entente's London Agreement on reparations. C. The strengthening of the left-wing elements in the European labor movement and the growth of the international weight and prestige of the Soviet Union. Let us examine these principal factors. 1. The period of bourgeois democratic pacifism. The Entente has proved incapable of coping with the results of its war victories. It fully succeeded in defeating Germany and in encircling the Soviet Union. It also succeeded in drawing up a plan for plundering Europe. This is shown by the innumerable conferences and treaties of the Entente countries, but it has proved incapable of carrying out that plan of plunder. Why? Because the contradictions between the countries in the Entente are too great, because they have not succeeded and will not succeed in reaching agreement on sharing the loot, because the resistance of the countries to be plundered is growing stronger and stronger, because the implementation of the plan of plunder is fraught with military conflicts, and the masses do not want to fight. It is now obvious to everybody that the imperialist frontal attack on the Ruhr, with the object of annihilating Germany, has proved to be dangerous for imperialism itself. It is also obvious that the undisguised imperialist policy of ultimatums, with the object of isolating the Soviet Union, is merely producing results opposite to these intended. A situation was created in which Poincaré and Curzon, while faithfully and loyally serving imperialism, nevertheless by their work intensified the growing crisis in Europe, roused the resistance of the masses to imperialism, and pushed the masses towards revolution. Hence, the bourgeoisie's inevitable transition from the policy of frontal attack to the policy of compromise, from undisguised to disguised imperialism, from Poincaré and Curzon to MacDonald and Heriot. Naked plundering of the world has become dangerous. The Labour Party in Britain and the Left Bloc in France, one are to serve as a cloak to cover the nakedness of imperialism. That is the origin of pacifism and democracy. Some people think that the bourgeoisie adopted pacifism and democracy not because it was compelled to do so, but voluntarily of its own free choice, so to speak. And it is assumed that having defeated the working class in decisive battles, Italy, Germany, the bourgeoisie felt that it was the victor and could now afford to adopt democracy. In other words, while the decisive battles were in progress, the bourgeoisie needed a fighting organization, needed fascism. But now that the proletariat is defeated, the bourgeoisie no longer needs fascism and can afford to use democracy instead, as a better method of consolidating its victory. Hence, the conclusion is drawn that the rule of the bourgeoisie has become consolidated, that the era of pacifism will be a prolonged one, and that the revolution in Europe has been pigeonholed. This assumption is absolutely wrong. Firstly, it is not true that fascism is only the fighting organization of the bourgeoisie. Fascism is not only a military technical category, fascism is the bourgeoisie's fighting organization that relies on the active support of social democracy. Social democracy is objectively the moderate wing of fascism. There is no ground for assuming that the fighting organization of the bourgeoisie can achieve decisive successes in battles or in governing the country without the active support of social democracy. There is just as little ground for thinking that social democracy can achieve decisive successes in battles or in governing the country without the active support of the fighting organization of the bourgeoisie. These organizations do not negate, but supplement each other. They are not antipodes, they are twins. Fascism is an informal political bloc of these two chief organizations, a bloc which arose in the circumstances of the post-war crisis of imperialism and which is intended for combating the proletarian revolution. The bourgeoisie cannot retain power without such a bloc. It would therefore be a mistake to think that pacifism signifies the liquidation of fascism. In the present situation, pacifism is the strengthening of fascism with its moderate social democratic wing pushed into the forefront.